Hello, my name is Eric Follick. I'm a Platonist contemplative ascetic and renunciant, and I would like to read for you a short paragraph of actually, it was originally from a response to a question about, a discussion of um, chapter 5 of Plotinus Ennead 3:6 about how the soul is impassible and unaffected, but yet needs to be purified from the darkness of what's usually translated as, but inadequately, as matter or hula. Uh, if you would like to read um, the this in print, it's up on my blog site, which is platonistasceticism.blogspot.com. That's Platonist asceticism as one word, .blogspot.com. In any case, I hope this will, brief and informal, but will be of benefit to someone. So here we go. The Platonic Platinian teaching is pure idealism, even if it is expressed in a vocabulary and language that we may not immediately understand as such. Incidentally, matter, quote unquote, is a very misleading translation for the Greek hule in Plotinus. In Plotinus, it carries none of the connotations of, quote, matter in the modern physical sense, but is rather the extremity or principle, so to speak, of non-being. The extremity or principle, so to speak, of non-being, of darkness, of nescience. I have toyed with the idea of using, quote, anti-stuff as a translation for hula. There is only knowing, experience, mind, consciousness, or as Plotinus puts it, contemplation. All is, as Plotinus says in Ennead 3:8, contemplation. The one is complete, pure knowing or contemplation beyond knowing or contemplation. Nous is already lesser, incomplete, impure, adulterated to some extent, but still unified knowing/contemplation, having already been mixed, so to speak, to a certain extent with nescience/darkness non-being, which Plotinus sometimes refers to as noetic hula / quote matter. Soul is knowing/contemplation mixed to the greatest extent with nescience/darkness/non-being, to the point that it appears as individuated as our souls and in space, time, and sense perception, etc. It is still, though, the same knowing/contemplation, in its reality unchanged and unalterable and indestructible, as knowing/contemplation is still only in itself pure knowing contemplation as such, and can't be anything else, but is now turned or looking in the direction of the extremity of nescience, darkness, non-being, and thus no longer knows itself or complete pure knowing contemplation. The soul thus needs to turn around back to redirect back its attention to regain the complete pure knowing contemplation of, and that is the one, to re-become that complete pure knowing/contemplation without any admixture of nescience, darkness, non-being. Thus, renunciation and asceticism is of the very essence of the purification process, and also is not just of instrumental value, but remains of the very essence of the fuller knowing contemplation state or states. Since involvement in and pursuit of the world of diversified, individuated sense data in space-time more than is absolutely necessary, which is what worldly life is the very fact of looking in the direction of darkness, of only knowing, contemplating in a very darkened, impure, incomplete, ignorant way. Being in worldly life is by definition knowing, contemplating, seeing the darkness and non-being of sense perception. The practice of purification, on the other hand, is more and more only seeing, knowing, contemplating the forms and nous, and then the one or good, and thus being in the very state of nous and eventually the one themselves, and thus obviously involves knowing, contemplating, seeing worldly life and its things of the senses less and less. The one is, of course, always there and unchanged, but we don't know it without turning away from the sense world, which is really non-being, in both life and mind, and turning the imperishable knowing of the soul back to the one. So that's all it is, but I hope that that's of some use or can encourage some people to practice. And I maybe I should point out that, of course, always in these discussions, it's taken for granted that that this practice will be pursued in formal sitting and contemplation, and in a formal practice as well as all the time, and that's of course based on asceticism and renunciation. That this is a practice for renunciant contemplative ascetics devoted to sitting, meditation, or practice. So anyway, that's all. Thank you very much. Bye bye.